So let's talk about the three guys then. The three guys that could be available, might be available. Some would say should be available. Pat sitting at 15. So now we're left with Jones, Fields, and Lance. A lot of talk about Jones maybe going third. So let's start with the third guy on that list of three, Greg. If you were the Patriots and you're looking at your big board of quarterbacks and you've got those three names on the board, who's number three?
Mac Jones, without question, in my mind. I mean, look, it's nothing to – I think that – look, let me say this. Overall, I think all five of these quarterbacks are going to be good starting quarterbacks in this league, given the right environment, the right surrounding cast, things like that are important. You know, people will look at a player like Marcus Mariota and go, well, he sucked. Well, yeah, he had 4 offensive coordinators in 5 years. Like, what the hell did you expect out of him?
Yep.
So all that stuff is it's vital. It's vital. You know, and we've talked about it before. Aaron Rodgers doesn't become Aaron Rodgers if Mike McCarthy's fired every other year up in Green Bay.
Yeah, look at
Mike
Mahomes.
McCarthy the whole time. Yeah,
I mean,
look at Mahomes.
He's and, you know, just look at that, for example. I mean, I'm not saying Mahomes would not have been Mahomes without the perfect situation, but what he got in Kansas City was the perfect situation. Andy Reid, a long-tenured head coach, Alex Smith, the mentor, a good offensive line, skill position players for days. He was set up perfectly.
And look at, you know, the other side of the Rodgers coin is look at Alex Smith. He goes first overall to the 49ers. They're horrible. They go through different coaches. Smith is washed out. Everybody thinks he's a bum. All of a sudden, he hooks up with Andy Reid in Kansas City, and he's a good, viable starting quarterback until he gets hurt.
Yep.
That just proves you it's nature, it's nurture over nature when it comes to NFL quarterbacks. So that being said, all 5 quarterbacks I think are going to be good starting quarterbacks in this league, and I think they are going to end up at the end of the day. I think they're at least going to be top 12 picks, if not top 10 picks, come next Thursday night. Mac Jones, to me, look, Nick, to be honest, I didn't want to believe the hype. I thought, you know, big, stiff, white guy at Alabama. We've seen this before with McCarron and other guys, Greg McElroy, you know, some of these guys who all of a sudden you hear from people who are like, oh, yeah, no, what about he's a winner at Alabama and, you know, you should draft him. I remember Patriots fans or NFL fans in general, you know, talking up McCarron or, you know, the kid from Georgia from last year is another example of, you know, a winner in the SEC that people think is going to be a good pro, and it doesn't come to fruition. So that's where I went in watching the film on Mac Jones, and I watched all of his throws from this year. I watched no, that was Fields. I watched his 2019 conference championship game, and I was blown away by Mac Jones. You know, here's where he separates himself from everybody else, in my opinion. In terms of the second tier guys, his accuracy is unbelievable, and he was not just sitting back there all day, having all day to throw. He just wasn't. He was under a good amount of pressure last year. Yes, he has unbelievable weapons to throw to, but you know, I'm not grading him up on throws to wide open guys. I just don't do that. And I would like to think that I know the difference between you know, a guy who's schemed open, a guy who's thrown open. And the quickness of his release, I didn't think I was going to see that. When he makes a decision, he lets it rip. It's very quick. It's much quicker than Fields. It's much quicker than Lance. And the other thing about Mac Jones is that his feet are just, it's hard to describe, but he has this natural rhythm to how he gets back, how he gets into his throwing lane.
I agree.
It's uncanny for that's what, when people see a pocket quarterback and they say, well, he's just going to be a big stiff or what have you, like name any other pocket quarterback that hasn't worked out in like the last 10 years. The feet are the feet in the release to me are the difference. Because all right, anybody can be accurate, and he is ungodly accurate. But the feet and the quickness of the release. You put those two things together, and then all of a sudden now I see why he's drawing comparisons to a certain number 12. Like, I'm not going to invoke the name, but when you watch him, it's the comparison is not all that terrible. I mean, really, the way he manipulates the pocket with his feet, the way he gets back, and then his quickness. And also, we haven't even gotten into the best part of Mac Jones, which is his mind.
Yeah,
his processing speed is on another level, Nick, for the college game. I mean, it blows Lawrence away. It probably doesn't blow Zach Wilson away, even though Lawrence is very smart. But Mac Jones is just on another level. You hear from people that he's so smart. He's teaching Bill O'Brien the Alabama offense down there in Tuscaloosa. I just think in terms of what the Patriots, and look, Mac Jones might not work for everybody and every NFL offense, but in terms of what the Patriots want to do, in my mind, Mac Jones is a clear number 3 to the other guys.
I think when you look at, Jones, the issue is people falling in love with all of these other terms, off platform, off schedule. Can he run with the football? Do threat ability at the quarterback position, all these sexy things. And, it almost for some people becomes a prerequisite that you have to be a supreme athlete to be a quarterback. And when I watch Jones, you hit on pretty much everything, but his ability to move around within the pocket is a big deal. And again, I think Mel Kiper got a bad rep for, what he said about Jones and Brady. All he said was, if you watch Mac Jones, some of the skill set is very similar to Brady. He didn't say Jones was going to be the next Brady. He didn't say Jones was Brady. He said, if you look at the things that Jones can do, it reminds you of Brady. And one of the things you mentioned, and I think it's huge, you don't have to be a supreme athlete if you can move around within the pocket. If you can north, south, east, west, find throwing lanes, all those little things. And he can do that. And he can do that against top competition. He did it in big games. And I do think people get somewhat lazy because they go, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and blah, 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 blah. I do think there is something to be said when both Waddle and Smith come out and say they would rather have Jones than Tua. I do think that means something. So, I think Mac Jones is good, no doubt.